we're going through what's effectively a meltdown in my primary business, which is doing mortgages. And I'm so much more at peace than I think I would have been, 3 years ago before I was doing jiu-jitsu. Cause it's like, it's very humbling, and you learn how to deal with stress, and you're like, all right, this really sucks. I feel like there's a 1,000-pound weight on my chest at work, but just breathe and it'll be okay. Don't you feel like every human needs like these forever humbling experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that a lot of us have a inflated view of our own abilities, and
Right.
myself, like I put myself chief among them.
Yeah.
That's
Myself
I always
included.
have a high, I always think I'm the best, super smart, great, just a great guy. So it's good to be humbled almost to the point of despair. And then I also totally agree with you. Like I've noticed that that's probably been the biggest thing that I've noticed is that little things don't get under my skin as much because at least no one's choking me right now. At least I can still breathe. That's pretty cool for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Weird how things come into perspective when you have somebody trying to snap your neck or cut off your oxygen.
Yeah. It's completely shifted perspective on the little hardships that we undergo in life. And that's kind of bringing us back to what we were talking about early. Because if you don't have any perspective, then all the little things are perceived as being these big things that we need to really put a lot of emotional energy into. But if you've dealt with some really hard shit, or you've had someone put their knee on your stomach and you had to just suffer through it for the last 45 seconds while the clock is ticking down, then suddenly those little things you can really see from a perspective level, like, that's not that big of a deal. This will pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of hardship, I'd love to shift the conversation a little bit from fitness itself to the journey of entrepreneurship, right? Because I can go on Instagram and every third ad is for something physical fitness related, right? And there's a million gyms and a million different flavors, and I've had high cholesterol my whole life. So this is one little microcosm of health that I've been following because my family has horrible health history. I've been on a statin for a long time. And it's depending on the season, it's oh, no, we're really concerned about only overall total cholesterol. You've got to get it down to at least your age plus 100. Oh, if you really want to prevent yourself from having a heart attack, you got to get it under 100. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe all we care about is having the good cholesterol, the HDL higher. Oh, you know what? Maybe you should be on these PKS9 inhibitor. It's the science changes.
Particle size.
Particle size of cholesterol now. And now they're surprise, surprise, coming around to maybe cholesterol's not so bad. What we really should be monitoring is blood sugar because the overwhelming amount of carbohydrates and tissue damage. Okay, so that's just one little tiny sliver microcosm of the health world. And then you look with personal trainers, and like I said, some of them are more cardio, more weights, more this, more that. And then personal trainers just seem to be a dime a dozen. So how in the hell does somebody say, you know what, this is what I want my life's work to be. This is the industry I want to work in. And I'm going to carve out a niche where I can provide for my family consistently in that world. So can you talk a little bit about all right, I worked at a gym. I was a personal trainer to this entrepreneurial journey to do what you're doing now. Cause I know you're very successful at it, and I just don't understand how, because your competition is so fierce.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think. But I've always I've loved fitness. I found my way into it through some insecurities and dealing with my own stuff. But there was a point in there, I think it's 2014, 2015. So I've been working as a trainer for 6-7 years, when I started to really appreciate the ability to I guess just the ability that comes with training and exercise and eating right. And there kind of came to a head for me one time when I was out on vacation with my wife. We were actually on our honeymoon in Ghana, Africa, which is, she had spent a year as as an orphanage there. So it's the whole thing. And we were trying to go up this staircase to the top of this tower in an old slave castle out there. And this family was there, another American tourist family was there, and they couldn't go up the stairs because they just had to, they're carrying too much weight around. They're just a little on the obese side. So the mom and the dad sat at the bottom, and their 3 kids playing on their devices while we walked up the stairs and did this whole thing and did this tour and then came back down. And to me, that was it was kind of an idea of hey, it's not even about having a 6-pack or whatever else, but it's about the ability to show up when necessary, show up for your family, show up at work, show up on vacation. Right.
Right.
so it's not necessarily about running away from this fear of insecurity and like not necessarily being enough or being good enough. It's about what can you create, like rather than being like, and I think women get targeted by this a lot. You hear like the verbiage around women's weight loss. It's like lose weight, drop fat, decrease your pant size. It's all about becoming smaller and putting yourself into a box.
Yeah.
When in reality, exercise is an amplifier. It's a force multiplier, which allows you to get stronger, do more things. Like now you can do 10 pull-ups. Like what does that do for your self-esteem and your confidence? So I think that's kind of where that turning point was. For me. And so in 2014, 2015, my wife and I saved a bunch of money and then sold all of our stuff. We were living in Seattle at the time and moved to South America for what was going to be 6 months. Something I'd always wanted to do. So I tried at that point because I'd had a couple of clients who were people in the startup space in Seattle who had like that entrepreneurial like thing going on for themselves. And I was just talking to, getting their feedback and input, which by the way, makes personal training one of the greatest jobs that a 22-year-old can have, because like the gym is a great democratizer. And you're like,
right.
Like nowhere else in the world are you getting like CEOs being like, excuse me, 19-year-old, can I work in with you? Like it's just, it just creates a unique environment. And then I am like, people are asking me about my opinions on health and fitness. And I'm like, but you have all this expertise. You're starting up like a tech company. You're the CEO of this. You've done all these things.
Right.
I told my wife all the time during like when I worked there, like bring me the world's problems because I can solve them before 2 p.m. with my clients. Because they were just the smartest, like coolest human beings in the world. And I got a chance to be around them as a 22-year-old, 24-year-old. Like it was incredible.